Data analysis techniques. Descriptive statistics. Statistics is sometimes known as descriptive analysis, and it is a statistical representation of the analysis that you have done. So it is a quantitative method in the analysis, and it may include mean, taking out the mean or median, mode, or working and taking data through the percentages or frequencies or range, because frequencies you normally go for when you are using when you're conducting study in phonetics. And range also, it can be the part of phonetics or in forensics as well, forensic phonetics as well. So descriptive statistics is actually the quantitative method, and uh, there are different softwares through which uh, you can take all these percentages, mean, median, and mode. For that, we are going to have a session of SPSS, which is a software, and we'll discuss it in detail in that session. Qualitative descriptive method is used in for basic studies, and it is a kind of a descriptive summary of the content that you have in the data. So for example, if there is a novel that you're analyzing, so you actually take the chunks of the summary or the story that you mention, depending on what are you trying to analyze. So it covers, how the data are organized. It may depend on the researcher and how data were rendered, which means that uh, it depends on what is your study trying to focus. Uh, Based on that, you present data, and based on that you describe uh, your your study, um, or your in the analysis. You describe what is happening in the story, and you analyze it and you prove throughout that analysis method. So in the analysis, you actually try to state the chunks of the story, and you prove it. So for example, if someone wants to someone has a framework of feminism, so if what they are trying to prove through the descriptive qualitative, they would take the story they would take the story and explain it in chunks, and explain it in chunks to the readers in the analysis section, in order to prove their point that yes, there are elements of feminism. Similarly, there are other instances given over here, like for example, time of occurrence, or categories or subcategories that you have formed in your study, which you are trying to analyze, or which you are trying to find or prove. Based on that, you actually um, do the analysis in qualitative descriptive method. There is no discourse analysis in that, nothing of language, nothing of the involvement of language. Descriptive qualitative is somewhat like the content analysis as well. Constant comparison or grounded theory is another type of analysis technique that sometimes is used, but in this analysis technique, you have to have another analysis technique with which you actually generate the codes, and you base your argument on that. So it's like more of inductive approach, and it was given by Anselm Strauss. In this analysis technique, you look at the document or text or novel or whatever you are taking, and um, you look for the major chunk of information over there, but those informations actually reveal some kind of codes or some kind of categories. Now, for example, if you're if you're taking a novel and you don't have anything in your mind that what are you trying to find out, means there is no such thing as theory in your mind, then you use grounded theory. There's nothing in your mind and you're trying to analyze the text and you want to see it's what is happening in that text. So you try to create codes for that. Each sentence or each part of the story, that would create some kind of codes, and all those codes would lead to the discussion of the study, through which you will form your theory. Means you will base your answer of the research question by using this analysis technique, grounded theory. But in this theory, in this analysis technique, you don't have um, anything in your mind as such. There's no framework in your mind when you are using a grounded theory. So you just have data and you actually look at the data and take meaning out of the data. For example, if there is feminism or ideologies or nationalism and different aspects in the data, and then base your theory on that. You can for generating codes, you can uh, use any software. By using software is, for example, NVivo is a good software for creating codes. You can use that as well, and you can also go for creating is as personally creating them, manually creating them. You can compare even the texts and categories. So for example, if there are two novels, you can compare those codes and then see how it works. And but once again, in this kind of analysis technique, you don't have a already developed theory or framework. Logical analysis and matrix analysis is also analysis technique, and it was given by not given by, but it is in detail explained by Matthew Miles and Haberman. And in this analysis technique, we normally look at the causation, means the cause effect relationship, and you give logical reasoning process. You go through logical reasoning process in the logical analysis, and it is done through, because obviously it's logical, so it is and you're giving reason for that, so it is done through flow charts and diagrams, etc., in which have proper representation of that and facts and figures, and then you base your argument on those logical you base your argument logical argument on the basis of these flowcharts and diagrams, and other means of representation methods, which can also be written descriptions as well. But those written descriptions are um, not just random descriptions, but they are authentic descriptions. Metaphorical analysis, this kind of analysis is not just like solely used. So may be used in researches where a researcher is analyzing something with the something which is related to metaphors, and the researcher wants to take it on one stage or another, or wants to take help from it in one form or another. So it is not used solely, but as a researcher you can use it solely in research papers if it is completely and solely associated with the metaphorical analysis. um, you already know how metaphors work, so um, it is just like you are you just like you analyze metaphors, like you identify the metaphors and then you state how it is not the direct meaning of what or the dictionary meaning of what exactly is used in these sentences. Domain analysis is you can use James Spradley's discourse and domain analysis, which is analysis of the language of people in a cultural context. Why is it a cultural context? Because you have already studied domain in sociolinguistics, so you know how the choice of language is different and the kind of language that people use. So if you're analyzing something like that, means your question is something like that, the research topic is something like that, then you have to go for domain analysis, which is an appropriate method of analysis technique for such type of research, where you focus on different kinds of domains specifically associated with language. So it's not just for example home domain or school domain or something like that. Sometimes we have complex researchers have you have only studied basics, right? But researchers have delved into this concept of domain way more farther, and they have different kinds of domains there, where they have folk domains, or where it's like mixed domains, where like two or more than two domains combined together. So you can use these use it use this analysis technique uh, for analysis in linguistics, specifically when you are studying something related to social or cultural patterns in the language, where you're looking at the language and you're trying to understand the meaning of it, but in the context of the way people use it, and why do they use it. So I've already given you examples when I taught you sociolinguistics, that for example, if someone speaks in Pashto with shopkeeper, there is a reason for that. So all these things are the part of domain analysis. You can read these uh, points uh, and it will make it more clear to you all. Discourse analysis is a linguistic analysis of ongoing conversation on communication. It can be written and it can be oral. So it can be used in linguistics and both in literature. In both fields it can be used. You can uh, it is not just the tapes as it's written here, not just the tapes that is played and replayed, but also the patterns of conversation which are understood time and again. Like for example, if you take a novel and you are using discourse analysis technique for that, you actually read the novel once and twice and thrice, and so that you can extract those meanings from that, those patterns from that which you are trying to analyze. And you you actually focus on the patterns of questions, and the way it's the way conversation goes on, and whatever aspect you're trying to analyze, you actually look at those aspects. So in discourse analysis, I'll give you example not from content analysis, but as in discourse analysis, when you're looking at uh, uh, in the discourse only. So for example, if your framework is feminism and you are using discourse analysis technique, then, or the star I have taught you, whichever framework it is, and you are using discourse analysis technique, so you are going to look at the um, sentence structures and the meaning, so the meaning, the way it is used in the context. So it is more like focusing on the language part, not on the summary or the content part that we have already discussed in previous slides. So it's just it's just the language part on the basis of which you're going to prove. So for example, if someone has said something that females are like that, or females should not go out, or even in the novel the description says so, that and then the females were not allowed to do this or to do that, you are actually looking at the language. The analysis is of the language with that of the context in which it is used. That is discourse analysis. In comparison with content analysis only looks at the story or the content which is there, means the chunk of information which is given over there. So you can there's it's fine if you don't give reference to the language part in that, but in discourse it's important. Semiotic analysis is the study of signs and symbols such as body language, and this is what we do in semiotics. So when you are using semiotic analysis, uh, Gorson in 1997 has given three-step methods of semiotic analysis, in which you analyze the verbal signs as well as the visual signs, right, along with analyzing the symbolic messages which are sent through that. So it's not just the body language. Actually, semiotics is associated with 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 this meaning which is um, represented through the signs. So it's like um, it can be, for example, a cultural sign or symbol. Um, for example, we wear dupatta, and this is the represent, or kameez shalwar is the representation of a specific culture. So it's a sign, it's a symbol. Semiotic analysis is something that looks deeper into those not just cultural patterns but the meaning as well. So if your study is related to something which is, let's suppose, observation, I mean, let's suppose you have done observation as a in data collection tool. Like for example, you are sitting in a place and you are not in the part of the group, and you are just observing some kids playing, and there is this um, different toys laying here and there, and the child goes and picks up the boy, right, goes and picks up the gun, whereas the girls, they go towards the doll. However, there is a single girl who would go towards picking up guns. This would signify some meaning, right? Or for example, when someone says something in words, even they signify some meaning, and these meanings are presented through signs and symbols. Same is the case that uh, not only that these meanings are formed or constructed as well in through the signs and symbols, and they give meaning as well of through these signs and symbols. So uh, this kind of method is very uh, a detailed method, and is used in cases where you require a lot of behavioral, or a lot of mostly it is used with that of in social sciences research, which is business related, means work related, workplace related researches. Now, but it is also used in linguistics, because it gives through that you can get the meaning of what the person has said, and the meaning is where you can apply the theory that you have taken. Content analysis is a type of analysis technique that you can also use, and it is like looking at the documents and text and speech for the themes or codes which are emerged. So I'll give you the same example of uh, feminism, that if you're trying to look at feminism in a novel, so if you're using content analysis, you will not look at, just like in discourse analysis, you will not look at the language, you'll just look at the content, you'll just look at the story of it. So you look at the story, you create the themes, and you take the themes out of it which are emerging from the content analysis. Now, for content analysis, there are two things that you can do. Either you already have a framework, and you know which elements you are trying to look at in the novel. So, for example, if it's feminism, fine, feminism is there. But then let's suppose you are your research question says that um, um, in how many aspects, or what are the features of, right? So when you say how many features or what are the features, let's suppose it's like proverbs, and in proverbs you want to see that how females are represented. So how the females are represented in these proverbs, then you don't have you have already one thing in your mind, that you are applying feminism theory on that, because you're looking at the perspectives in how how females are represented, and you're doing content analysis. But then when you're doing content analysis, you don't have one point in your mind, right? You only have this one point, that you have to look at the way females are represented, and it can create so many themes. So let's suppose you take one proverb in which females are represented as talkative, then you this is one theme. And then there are four other proverbs which represent the same theme. Then you have this one theme emerged through the content analysis, because you're only looking at the content. Females are represented, they you have nothing to do with which words are used and what is the meaning of those words, which means that, so for example, if it says that like it says that females are talkative, right? So if it says females are talkative, then you're not supposed to analyze it from discourse analysis, where you'll say that they have not used the word women, they have used females. It means that females are from age like 1 2 to old age, all are females. Whereas for women, we do not add girls in that. If women, when it comes women, so we add, there is a certain age for that when we refer to it. This is discourse analysis, where you're looking at the words and the meaning, and linking it with the other part of it. This is discourse analysis technique. And content analysis would be simply just stating that women are considered as talkative in this proverb, and therefore it falls under the theme of talkative. That's it. So this is how it works in content analysis. And two methods can be there. I've already explained it. Either one, you already have exactly the same point in your mind. That is, for example, you want to, your research question states that how females are represented talkative, right? And then you have you have another method that is you know um, different different aspects or factors or ways in which females are represented. I hope it is clear. Okay, as explained in the previous slide, that it is theory driven, means there is always some kind of theory back in your in your research, back in your mind when you are analyzing the text, so you know that, you know, what are you trying to analyze, and you try to find those themes in that, or anything related or associated with that theme. It's not like grounded theory where you don't have any theory, but it is content analysis. In a content analysis technique, you must have theory. It is a theory driven technique. It can be a theoretical framework that you're using or conceptual, but you have something in your mind, right? But then there are standard rules for content analysis. Now, first you have to use the chunk of data, and it is your choice. So for example, if you are taking a short story, then you analyze it line by line. If you are taking a novel, then you can analyze it paragraph wise. So and this is something that you must state over there and write over there, that, you know, my analysis technique would say this, or would do it like this, right? Then you have to mention what are the units of meaning, and then second step is the unit of meaning, and the categories that you are going to give to um, give to the chunks that you have already taken. So for example, remember the example that I have given you, which was for example, if you're analyzing proverbs and you look at inclusive, would be that you say that 5 proverbs are showing um, or let's suppose, let me give you an example of the same feminism. So you have feminism and you're analyzing it in a novel, and all the aspects, all the points in the novel, all the chunk of the data or themes that you have analyzed are included in one category, which is feminism, because that's what you are trying to find out. But then there is another method where you are going to have mutually exclusive meanings, means that you say that I'm going to analyze proverbs, all Pashto proverbs, or 20 or 40 proverbs of Pashto, in which Pashto language, in which I'm going to analyze, or English language, in which I'm going to see how females are represented, right? Negative, and what are those qualities that are given or given to females, right? So then it would be mutually exclusive, because there are so many qualities, negative, both negative and positive, which are given to females. So it is mutually exclusive, but still it falls under your research, and a content analysis is the appropriate method for that. um, this is how you do the content analysis. Then you define exactly all the properties of those chunk of data that you have taken, and you explain them with proper justification, right? And um, whatever is written over there in the content analysis, in the analysis section, through content analysis, must fit some kind of category. Like for example, if your research is related to feminism, that there is no need of analyzing something which is language associated, which doesn't fall under the category. So it should include some kind of category. In some of the researches, though very few, it is immersion theory, which is grounded theory, as I have told you that from which the theory is later on taken. There is nothing in the mind of the researchers, but very few. Mostly it is theory driven, but it would be better to use it for the theory driven. And um, after you're done looking at the categories, some of the researchers have also counted, like for example, in the entire novel, if there are, or in all the proverbs, if uh, if 20 instances are, or 20 proverbs are under the category of talkative, and 10 are under the category of mm, being organized, then we can quantify it. So in some researches you can also quantify this content analysis through content analysis, but first you have to um do the qualitative part of it.